Hey, welcome to HR Famous, brought to you by Kinetics, the leading RPO recruiting firm for growth companies. Named by HRO Today as the top midsize RPO provider, Kinetics uses its unique skill-based recruiter model to deliver on RPO engagements, allowing them to customize scope to meet your unique hiring needs. If you have recruiting challenges and want to consider RPO as a solution, give Kinetics a call. Find them online at kineticshr.com. HR Famous is also brought to you by HRU Tech, a contingent staffing firm specializing in engineering, IT, and technically related placements across multiple industries. If you're looking for technical talent or searching for a career, look no further than HRU Tech. Find them online at hrutech.com and call them today. Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Dunn, CHRO at Kinetics, HR capitalist, fistful of talent, yada, yada, yada. It's the HR Famous podcast. Happy to be joined, as always, by JLee and Tim Sackett. And we're going to air this right before Christmas. So, JLee, is the shopping done? Yes or no? No excuses.
The shopping is done.
Oh.
The shopping is done. I'm done.
Did you do it all online? No, like going to the store?
100% online. And I think my big question now is like, when do you wrap it and put it under the tree, like with kids so that they don't like mess with it? When do you do that?
23rd.
On the 23rd?
Midnight on the 24th.
Okay.
No, like my wife, like I have adult children and my wife still makes me go wrap gifts like at 1 a.m. on Christmas Eve. Like, I'm like, what the hell are we doing? I'm hoping this year we'll not get away with that. They all understand now that,
that you are Santa.
Well, if you have kids listening, you can put it on mute real quick.
So Tim Sackett, you love giving gifts.
I love giving gifts.
This is something you're good at. I think you may have a story later on in a little segment I like to call dysfunctional Christmas time stories in the workplace. We're going to play that game later on. But you love giving gifts. So are you done? Or are you still trying to craft the perfect gift experience for the special people in your life?
I'm done. I'm like JLee, 100% online. Didn't step into actually I did. I stepped into a Walmart because I ordered one thing that I just had to pick up. And by the way, like I'm not a big Walmart like lover, but it was like I literally had my phone, the little scan thing. The dude was at the front door, scanned it, went to the drawer, picked up my thing. Bam! I wasn't even in Walmart for 20 seconds. It was one of the best experiences I've had.
So in the Dunn household, I know you guys are interested in this. In the Dunn household, we're like solidly, and Tim, you have older kids. Jessica has younger kids. I have older kids like you. So got a sophomore in college and a junior in high school. So Mrs. Dunn and I are like, what do you get the kid who's had a lot? Like, Tim's answer to that is more. And let's be creative, et cetera, et cetera. But I did have, Jessica, you'll be interested in this, I think. I did have a little team huddle with the boys day before yesterday, and I kind of huddled up and said, hey, what have you got in your mom?
I have an idea.
Deer in the headlights, right? Yeah. Deer in the headlights. And I said, so here's your task. Okay. It's getting late. Between the two of you, you need 3 gifts for your mom. Can be from both of you. Just make it like a team event. 3 gifts. There's got to be one pretty good gift, right?
And then you'll put your name on that one.
Thank you. And then there can be a couple of other, but we need a little volume. You don't have to get me anything. I don't want anything, but you need to take care. What do you got, Tim? You got the perfect gift? You said you had something.
For Mrs. Dunn, just because she's been texting me about throw pillows.
Easy
she needs
now.
More throw pillows.
For
those who got the Sackett Christmas letter or a holiday letter, I made a joke in there about my wife buying throw pillows for the living room, and Mrs. Dunn texts me and said, I just did a throw pillow count in my living room at 31.
Oh my God.
But that's not it. My wife had more, so let's just put it that way.
So JLee, Mrs. Dunn is penetrating the text, like the group text thing, right? So she's coming in, and she was kind enough to put me on the text. I was up in the home office doing what I do. on a work day. And I saw the text come through and she said, "Hey, I just got your letter, Tim." And then there was all this talk about throw pillows. And I had to weigh in and say, let me guess, picture in front of a distressed brick wall in stylish clothes. I was wrong. It was the Falsey. It was the Falsey.
Yeah. Fall colors, fall foliage, photo shoot.
Okay. I know. Yeah. I know the three of our families are going to have a great Christmas. So best wishes to everybody finishing up the shopping in these last couple of days. So let's get to more important matters at hand. We're going to go serious, maybe not so serious. We're going to go serious, and then we're going to come back to the Christmas season a little bit. The first thing we want to talk about, I want to talk about, you guys may not, is I want to talk about the use of doctor in the title of people who aren't actually doctors. I know both of you have some opinions on this. Tim has written about it, as have I. I've talked to JLee extensively in a group text that's like super valuable. A lot of people wish they could be on that. So I'll set the stage this way. So last Friday, by the time you hear this, a couple of Fridays ago, week and a half ago, Wall Street Journal published an opinion article regarding incoming First Lady Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, who is using the prenominal doctor, and she has a doctorate in education. I guess that's called an EDD. I'm reading this from Tim's site, versus a medical doctorate. So at the end of the day, there's no doubt that Jill Biden has done the work and received a actually is an EDD, right, Tim?
Yeah.
So the article in the Wall Street Journal hit on a couple things. First of all, it did hit on the longstanding tome, if you will, that you shouldn't call yourself a doctor, whether you're male or female. You shouldn't call yourself a doctor unless you're looking at my broken toe or looking at my inner ears or delivering a baby, whatever. That was the first tome of it. Now, I will say this, that it was political in nature because it was all about Jill Biden. Jill Biden, by the way, I almost said Joe Biden. So it kind of begs the question. I've always been annoyed long before Jill Biden was ever on my radar screen. I've always been annoyed about the use of doctor in corporate America. So I can't really speak for academia, although we can talk about that a little bit. I've always been a little weirded out in corporate America when the use of doctor flows in, and it's really never explained. And it's just a weird deal. So, Tim, I'm going to go to you first because you wrote some of the source material I just quoted. So there's two things at play here, right? There's Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, and then there's also just the use. And that's what I really want to explore after we get past the Dr. Jill Biden thing. I want to explore use of doctor and its appropriateness in corporate America. Tim Sackett, what say you?
No, I mean, my first reaction to the op-ed was I got it from the recruiter side of me, because so often I've been in that situation where we're hiring somebody that has a PhD or doctorate in some kind of technology science area that's non-MD. And of course they did the work, they did great. They're super brilliant, smart people, but in a professional corporate setting, you're never going to call that person doctorate. And if they tried to call themselves, like if I said, like, hey, everybody, I want to, we have our next interview coming in. It's Chris Dunn. And you go, Dr. Chris Dunn. You might as well just pack your bags and leave right then. You're never going to get hired if you're that kind of pompous around that title. Doesn't mean you didn't earn it, but like in a professional corporate setting, that doesn't come across real well. Now, if you're in an industry professional setting, like, hey, I'm a doctor of education, I'm speaking at a conference, or I'm speaking about in the U.S. government around our educational, kind of structure and philosophy and policy, of course, Dr. Jill Biden should be called Dr. Jill Biden. If Jessica, KD, and I are all going out to dinner with Jill Biden, we're not going to say, "Oh, Dr. Biden, would you like some more red wine?" If we're just having dinner with friends, right? We're going to call her Jill, and she expects that as well. So anyways, I didn't want to start going down that path because I also knew that this dude was kind of busting on her a little bit for her thesis of what she did for her doctorate, and also the school she went to, and also the degree. And so I'm like, I'm going to reach out to a bunch of doctorate people that I know, not necessarily MDs, except there was some MDs in there. I had 7 in total, 2 of which were EDDs, 3 of which were PhDs, and then 2 or 3 MDs. And what it came out was 6 out of the 7 said, hey, behind closed doors in the industry, we bust on each other constantly about the level of doctorate we have in the school that we went to. Like if you went to Southern New Hampshire University and you have a PhD, that's like the lowest rung doctorate in the world when you have like an online airport degree PhD. If you went to a top 20 or an Ivy League, of course, if you went to Harvard, that's greater. Now, if you went to Harvard and you had an EDD and I had an MD or a PhD, that's better than yours. Now, this is them talking, not me, and they would bust on each other. Now, again, in a professional setting, they would still expect to be called doctor. I had a lot of people from academia reach out. Of course, if you're a professor and you have your EDD or PhD or whatever, there's literally 100 different designations for doctorate, right? If you're a pharmacy doctorate, you're a PharmD, if you're whatever, like, so it's not really that. It's just a question of, do you go into your pharmacist and say, oh, Dr. Miller or Dr. Smith, whatever? You wouldn't. Like, that's a pharmacist doesn't, my wife now is a physical therapist. If you're a physical therapist now, you have to have a doctorate. They don't call themselves doctorate in a hospital. Why? Because, quote unquote, there's real doctors. Katie.
Tim, I want to ask you a quick follow-up question that's got to be quick, and then I want to get JLee right in.
Yeah.
Okay, so the quick follow-up question is, you mentioned your role as a recruiter first. So out of every 10 resumes that you see with the type of degree that we're talking about, how many out of the 10 would you estimate list their name as Dr., in this case, Chris Dunn?
Christian, Dr. Christian.
Thank you. Life coach.
Yeah, it's very rare unless like their career choice or what they're in is a professor at a university, then they might list that. But most of them coming to us as a scientific kind of PhD, they don't list themselves as doctorate, even though they're trying to get into corporate America at some level of very high, super smart, like we're launching a space shuttle kind of job.
Okay.
They don't call themselves doctors on their resume.
Okay, hold that thought. JLee, react. Go ahead and knock out. Like, if you want to knock out on the Wall Street Journal article where this guy kind of goes after Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden. It's hard for me to say Jill Biden. I feel like I'm saying Joe Biden all the time. That's like a really close thing. Dr. Jill Biden, knock out your reaction to the piece, and then also give us your overall views of the use of the title of doctor in corporate America. And then I want to take both of you down some paths, but go as in depth as you want.
Well, first, I'm married to a PharmD, and I will have you know that we refer to him as Dr. Chun in our household out of reverence and respect to him. I say that.
Your kids say that? Dr. Dad?
You know what? Maybe I should start instituting that. That's Dr. Dad to you, children. Like, show him some respect. Because actually they tell him all the time that they like me more than him. So maybe we need to work on that.
Yeah. So does Bobby go by doctor?
So I think I'll answer this for you. There is a difference between what people do in writing versus in person versus in formal types of settings. So he is a PharmD in his email signatures and elsewhere. He says that he's a PharmD, and that is something that is important in his industry to delineate between his level of education and expertise versus others, because there are pharmacists who are not PharmD. For example.
Hey, JLee, real quick, when you say he refers to himself in writing as a PharmD, does that mean he starts his name with doctor?
No, so he doesn't. So it's Bobby Chun, PharmD. And I think you see this often with PhDs, people with EDDs, with people with JDs or who are expires. And I think acknowledging especially if it's industry specific and you're technical in nature and you work in that industry, I'm totally okay with that. Acknowledge that level of education education and subject matter expertise that you have. And I think that makes total sense. I also think, though, that like when it comes to formal types of settings, like an invitation in the mail or reference to them in a press document, like if you have earned that cred, like I think that it's totally cool. Like call yourself and ask to be called Dr. So-and-so because there's like formality in some of those situations. I think if it's in person and we're like, you're asking me to call you something, like, you know, I have different feelings about that. But, you know, I think some of this is cultural to where you live in the world. Like in Europe, I feel like there is much more formality and people want that. I think in certain industries like higher ed, and I've worked in higher ed, like you go along with that and you do that. And I feel like it makes sense. But like on a day-to-day, you know, personal level, I would hope we're not having to do that. But on the Wall Street Journal piece specifically, like I think we all know that there was like an agenda with that. And the thing that I just like separate from like, do you call her doctor or not? I just think that like, we're not going to go down this rabbit hole, but like, I still take offense to that whole piece as a woman because like the way he went after her is just, he's got a chip on his shoulder. And I am offended, sir. And I'm just not having it.
JLee, my thing too was if Jill Biden was president, she got elected president, and Joe was the EDD, and it went by Dr. Joe Biden, this dude never would have written that op-ed, right? It was another, you know, old white guy calls himself Dr. Joe Biden. I just have a feeling that op-ed never would have been written. But since it was, it's Joe Biden president and Jill Biden the wife, I feel like I have license to go out and bust on her. Like it was kind of ridiculous. By the way, him also making fun of her thesis around community college stuff, just because of the title, like you don't know, it could have been groundbreaking work she did in that thesis. Like you just don't know, but it's just fun for him to kind of just bust on it.
Welcome to the Hire Her podcast, where women in talent call all the shots. We know, another recruiting podcast, just what the industry needs. Okay, but hear us out. You ever spend hours sourcing that perfect candidate, but they end up ghosting you harder than your hinge date? Or finally, you get that hiring manager feedback, only for them to, of course, say, "Can we see more candidates?" Lame, right? But let's talk about what's really lame in the industry. How is it that 65% of recruiters are brilliant women, yet most of the decision makers look like a convention for middle-aged dudes named Brad?
That's where we come in. Hire Her isn't just another podcast about hiring trends you already heard like 50 times this week. We're here to elevate women in talent, share their career journeys, and make sure they take the lead. Because let's face it, if recruiting is the backbone of every company, why are we still fighting for a seat at the table? So whether you're a recruiter, a talent leader, or just someone trying to swim through the sausage fest of TA leadership, we got you, girl. Welcome to Hire Her, the recruiting podcast where women's voices aren't just heard, but they're leading the conversation.
So subscribe now, because middle management Brad sure as hell isn't going to do it for you.
So, JLee, like what I would tell you,
wife of Dr. Chun, to you.
Yes.
So
yes.
when I wanted to do this as a topic on the pod, JLee, you know, it's a dangerous thing because I know you and many were offended by the article. Mm-hmm. But my thoughts on all this go back, like, I guess I'm old. They go back like a couple decades. Because in corporate America, I've seen people, and most times it's dudes. Like, and you know, I think it's really, it's interesting. I think everybody should react the way they want to react to the Wall Street Journal article. However, I think we ought to be able to have this conversation without being accused of being, you know, being a misogynist or anything like that. I think where this individual showed that he was really going after Biden and he really wasn't trying to have a broader conversation was the fact he didn't make it broader. Like all he had to do was like throw in other examples if he truly wanted to get to that. If Biden just
didn't have to, that's the thing. He didn't have to go broader. I think that, you know, I've talked to, you know, people about this, and I think for a lot of women, when they read that piece, he didn't go broader and he was focused specifically on her. But in reading that piece, it smelled of so many things that a lot of women have felt in their own experiences and lived in their own experiences that he didn't have to. Like, we felt it in like really instinctively that like, I have seen this before. I have felt this before. He doesn't even need to call me out or someone else out. He's talking to all of us. And I think that's actually like where I would, beg to differ, is that he didn't have to. It was so present and it was something so pervasive that others have felt and seen many times before. He didn't have to.
The crazy part for me on this too was the dude didn't really even have his bachelor's degree. He got his bachelor's degree in obstetricia because he was in the war, like in the 1950s or whatever, which again, God bless him, fighting for the country. So, but he kind of hid under this veil of I'm a veteran with a bachelor's degree that they just gave me because I was in the service. And now I'm teaching at Northwestern for 30 years. And I've had to live through this of being called doctor and telling people I'm not really a doctor. I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, how can you question somebody or write about somebody that actually did the work and has the degree, and you're just going out there and doing this? My thing all comes back to, why do we give a shit about what somebody wants to be called? If she wants to be called Dr. Jill Biden, call her Dr. Jill Biden. I don't care what she wants to be called. Call her Queen Jill Biden. I don't care. Like, who? If I don't want to call her that, I just won't even talk about her. Right?
So,
like, it's so crazy.
So Tim,
yes.
real talk here, and then I'm going to go back to my friend JLee. You say, and by the way, Dr. Jill Biden can call herself whatever she wants. She is our first lady. I can still say that, right?
First lady, Dr. Jill Biden.
Fine. Joe Biden is my president. I'm a moderate Republican. Joe Biden is my president. Obama was my president. 100%. She can call herself whatever she wants. However, Tim, I'm going to go to you and then I'm going to go back to JLee. You say, why do we care? Like, why do we do that? You get in that, like, you get in the Tim Sackett, like, exasperation. but then when you read a resume and you see Dr. Christian Dunn, you cannot tell me that there's not something in the back of your mind that says, oh boy, here we go. Do I want to call this person?
The resume writing thing, or even the signature line, that has no impact on my thought process of them. It's when they verbalize it in a setting where that to me doesn't connect. Right now, again, if I'm at a conference or I'm going to a university course and they're saying, hey, oh, by the way, I want to introduce you to the professor, Dr. Jessica Lee, then I'm going to like, oh, okay, that's cool. I have no thought process of that. But if I'm coming to like, and I had this happen with a JD friend, right? So first time I met him, I was introduced to him as JD,
the guy from Scrubs? The guy from Scrubs?
A lawyer, a Juris Doctorate.
Okay, sorry.
And it was in a casual setting, and somebody says, "Oh, I want to introduce you to the." I can't say the name. I want to introduce you to this person, and he turned it around and said his name Esquire, and I was like,
"Yeah, the Esquire stuff is weird."
Asshole.
Yeah, of course. That's the deal. JLee. So,
but do they really have to be an a-hole? So I'll just play like devil's advocate on one piece, because it's you don't want to like. Can you judge? Like, I think about people who are like, let's say first in their for the first generation in their family to have gone to college or to like achieve a certain level.
Are there letters? Are there letters for that? Or,
no, but I'm saying, like, let's say you're the first person in your family to have gone to college or to have achieved this certain level of prestige in like through your education. I can't knock someone fully. Like, you just don't know. Like, if they back up the goods by continuing to be an a-hole or really arrogant or whatever it might be, then like that's another story. But like, I also like just think about like the amount of pride some people have for having gotten to that place. And you know what? If you want to flaunt that doctor title because of that, like, well, I can see that too.
Even though others might be making fun of the legitimacy of the school you went to, as Tim told us through his diligent research.
I know. There's always that.
So JLee, I want to come back to you. Hold on.
It's doctorate hazing, right? That takes place amongst doctors. It's not like I'm hazing a doctor. I don't have a doctorate.
So JLee, I think, like broaching this as a topic, we talked about it on a text string, and I think I have to be like somebody like me in order to talk about this has to be like thoughtful, and I get the way you reacted to it as an accomplished woman. But do you agree that it's okay to have the broader can we have the broader conversation without, is it possible in 2020 to have the broader conversation about the use of the title, like in a way that transcends this article about Dr. Jill Biden and have it be meaningful? Because
100%.
Okay. And by the way, the follow-up to that is, God bless Bobby. Like, so
Dr. Dunn to you.
But I know, but he puts the letters behind, and then I ask the question, okay, but does he put the doctor in front of his name? The answer is no, he does not. So I've got two more things for both of you on this. Tim, did you have something you were pointing to yourself? I can see you on video.
I was the example of JLee being a first generation college graduate of my family. So I was trying to think of like, do we do like Tim Sackett, like 1G? Like what's the designation for a first gen graduate? Right?
Well, you're a badge.
Tim, you don't let the world tell you differently. You're special.
Thank you.
You're okay. Okay. So to wrap this up, I'll go first. I want you to tell me the thing, if there is one, that makes you the most frustrated when people use doctor in front of their name. Okay. And this could be like verbally, this could be in writing. I'll go first. It's clearly somebody who is in corporate America and they use doctor in their email signature. That just gets me. Like I'm like, okay, so my take on that, and then Tim, I guess I'll come to you. My take on that is 10% of your company is going to look at that person with reverence and say, "Oh my goodness, Tim Sackett, did you know Bobby is a doctor?" Okay, 10% of your company will do that. 10% of your company is actively going to make fun of the person behind the scenes, and about 80% of your company is going to be careful about approaching that person until they know they're an actual like human being that's relatable. Tim, you got one? Anything come to mind?
Yeah. When I take a look at somebody speaking at a conference that uses doctor, and I take a look at their LinkedIn profile and they went to like
SMU,
solid state school, right, for their bachelor's. And we're all in talent. So we know that these kind of pay for play degree programs are out there, whether it's, historically like a University of Phoenix or whatever. I'm not
great school,
but they're non-academic rigored programs, and they're calling themselves a doctor when their master's and their PhD are for something that I know they just bought. They didn't do the real work of somebody that's going to a top 100 program, let alone like anything else. And I'm just like, give me an effing break. You are not allowed to call yourself doctor.
JLee, anything to add?
No.
My favorite. I know a guy named Dr. Russell that goes by Dr. Chuck. And I think if you throw, his first name's Charles, if you go doctor and then you go just like extreme the other way,
love it,
and use your first name, Dr. Chuck, that's a doctor in corporate America that I can love.
Hey, quick question. Does your dentist call themselves doctor?
I call them doctor.
You call him doctor?
Yeah.
My dentist does. She has her people call her doctor. So like I know her as her name, but like when like the hygienist comes in, she'll say, "Oh well, I'll ask doctor that, or I'll do this." And I actually asked her because I'm just kind of like professional curious, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I make them kind of call me that," and I'm like, "Okay, all right."
Quick trivia point. You know this. I think JLee knows this. Best man at my wedding, roommate and teammate in college, was a longtime wrestler in the WWE. Mm-hmm. And before he was Kane, the brother of The Undertaker, for about 20 years, his first character was an evil dentist. and the evil dentist didn't go by doctor. He went by Isaac Yankum, DDS. So like Bobby, he put the letters on the back of the name, not the doctor in the front. Isaac Yankum, DDS. All right. Enough about doctor. let's end the podcast with this. Tim, I think you had one. So I know you had one. That's the only reason I'm going to you first on this.
I told you I couldn't. Didn't I say I couldn't say it?
Oh, you couldn't tell it. So I'll go to JLee first. JLee, what's an example? It's Christmas time, JLee, and we've been way too serious so far. It's Christmas time. What is there any like crazy, like dysfunctional story of the days before Christmas in your workplace? Anything come to mind that you can share? That's just kind of there we go in the workplace again. How dysfunctional was that at Christmas time?
Oh, well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, in my first HR job, I had responsibility to be the company event planner. The company event planner.
Right.
So like it was the, summer picnic. It was the Christmas, which then became the holiday party, but I wasn't 21 yet. And so I had to like plan these events where there was alcohol involved. And I was, I think, the only sober one. And I will not divulge anything more than that, other than to say it is a very precarious situation to be in, to be the only sober one at age 19, 20 at a holiday party. Just the things you saw and that we will never speak of.
Holiday parties have tamed down a bunch. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh yeah, I'll share. I figure I can share part of this on mine. So like, as an HR leader in an organization, we would give out like our annual gift, right? Turkey coupon, whatever the hell it was, I don't know. Anyways, we gave out whatever gift was given out, and it had a wife of a high level employee actually send me an email pissed off of what their spouse got and that I should get them something else.
Wow. What'd you do?
I went and talked to that person and said, you better get your shit together.
Crazy.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll get us out of here with my quick story. I love this one. I've shared it on the Capitalist before. So my first VP of HR job, I was on my I think second or third EVP. It was my first Christmas season with him. And he was the leader of probably a $2 billion line of business. It's Christmas Eve, JLee, about 2 p.m. And I get a call from him. We were doing a search for a VP of finance in our division. And we had a candidate, female candidate, unbelievable in so many ways. So it's Christmas Eve and he says, hey, we need to get the offer out to Cheryl today. And I said, great, Fred. Fred's not his real name, JLee. I said, great, I'll get it out. We'll get that out today. She'll have some soak time over the holiday or over Christmas Day. We'll talk to her next week. He says, yeah, that's the thing, right? There's just this one little catch. Corporate's going to make me take Sparkman as part of the succession plan. So not only do we need to make the offer today, she needs to accept the offer today. I was like, it's Christmas Eve, right? He's like, yeah, I know. We're opening presents. I got to go. Click. So I make the call to Cheryl and I say, hey, Cheryl, great news. Got an offer for you in the VP of finance. I think you're going to love it. She says, that's great, Chris. Can't wait to join the team. I'm sure it's going to be great. Send it over and I'll take a look at it. I said, well, hey, that's the thing. Funny thing happened. And we actually need a response today. At the time, JLee and Tim, I can hear the church bells in the background. So she agrees to do it. And I say, hey, thanks, Cheryl. Hey, and it's click. She hangs up. So 4:58, she sends me verbal acceptance of the offer back. She turned out to be a great hire. But that's my dysfunctional story. By the way, that guy was a real piece of work. I don't mind telling you 16 years later.
Did he call himself doctor?
He did not. although if he had the ability to, JLee,
he would.
If he would have gone to the University of Phoenix University of Phoenix people, or what was it earlier, Tim? SMU? They make fun of SMU?
No. It was Southern New Hampshire.
Southern New Hampshire. But JLee, the point is, he absolutely would have, and that offer letter would have said, Dr. Fred X. All right. I think this is our last pod before Christmas when this one airs early in the week of Christmas. So to everybody out there from the HR Famous crew, Jessica Lee, Tim Sackett, giver of gifts, by the way, Jessica Lee, already fully prepared, Chris Dunn, somewhat lacking. From all of us at the HR Famous Podcast, we hope you have a great holiday season, and we will see you next time. We are out.